Zero ends. Welcome again to another stream of Zero Ends. As you know, this is gonna be another continuing reading. And this is gonna be very interesting. Y'all gonna like this. Today's reading will focus on, in its title, Blues for Snow White, the White Woman, Black Men Attraction. This is gonna be very off the hook. It's gonna be off the chain. But those that's waiting, thank y'all for listening to this podcast and this YouTube channel. Always, if you listen to two different outlets, please hit that subscribe button and give a like, comment at the end of this video. Like always, like, comment, subscribe. You know how the deal goes. Also, you'll find this on other outlets very soon. Let me check the analytics. And another thing, if you missed previous chapters, you can go back to the videos. Always like, comment, and some of these videos, they do at the end of it have like a certain clip that you click on to the next video. So I kind of organize it in a way where it's much easier now. I've done this so that way it's make it much more easier for people to really follow through to the next stream. And one thing with this is I think it's gonna lead more and deal with, you know, the scenario between black man and white woman. This particular chapter is a very short read, so you know, tune in for yourself to find out more about it. All right, looks like I set everything up. Looks like we're good. All right, adjust my mic for a second, and looks like everything is clear, all ready to go. So let us begin with this chapter. This is titled Blues for Snow White, the White Woman, Black Men Attraction. This is chapter 6. There is a danger in going against white people regards as progressive wisdom. You will be thought to oppose progress, in this case to be a racist in reverse. Even when a such critics secretly agrees with you, for instance, many black women who complain about the black male stepping up rates of marrying white females, condemning the practice outright, will suddenly catch themselves in a situation or simulation breath, declaring that a person should marry anybody he chooses, or in the next breath that it doesn't matter to them, the black woman who complains, who the black man marries. Yet any group seeks to build upon its unity and what it called cohesiveness. Catholics, black Muslims, when they were strongest, and now leading Jews, not to mention white people as a whole, all discouraging out marriage. Currently, when according to Census Bureau reports, the marriage of black and white has doubled since the black conscious of the late 1960s. And everybody know why is that the reason? I tell you why. Because during the mid 60s, after they remove the miscegenation laws in this country. It proves that a lot of black people, through their pathology in their mind, they seek to marry outside of race, particularly black males. And everybody knows this is a mindset that was ingrained into a lot of black men for the last few hundred years. Not 400, not 1300s. This is only done for a few years ago. And let me see. So, that's how it goes. It gave way to white feminist ideals as fade and fashion in the mass appeal of pop culture. Black males have married 5 times the rate at which the black female has done so. A report issued by the American Jewish Community in 1979 revealed that intermarriage had tripled in the 1970s. What concerns the Jewish officials is that in majority of instances, the intermarriage and the Jewish partners in loss to the faith. This combines with the current low birth rates among Jewish couples and the fear of a drastic decline in the Jewish population in the United States. Recently, therefore, Rabbi Sol Roof, new president of the Orthodox Rabbinical Council of America, or Rabbinical Council of America, has also commended that Jewish eliminate from Jewish with a communal life all person who marries outside the faith, which includes you. The Rabbi Roth goes further and also proposed to purge the rabbis who perform the ceremony. The rabbis further reveal that the Rabbinical Council of America will exercise into veto power against the selection of such individuals. In organizations such as Syndicat or Syndical Council of the American and the Conference of Presidents of Major American Jewish Organizations. Although Rabbi Alexander M. Schindler, president of the Union of American Hebrew Congregation, stands considerably opposed to Rabbi Roth's plan, he never himself agrees that it is true that intermarriage is a threat to Jewish survival, and that the Reform movement is an upset about the situation as an Orthodox, and that they will discourage intermarriage. However, Rabbi Scheidler makes it clear that one can oppose intermarriage and seek to mitigate its spread without pillorying the intermarrying. We hear you. We also have come independently to the reluctant conclusion that intermarriage threatens our group today. And utmost and aware black individual will agree. Intermarriage stirs in us deep tendencies of disunity, alienation, further the black male and the black female. If you question a stone black feminist, in fact, from Michelle Wallace on down, she will employ the white woman, black man romance as one of the major issues that applies her to anguish sufficient to make her cross over to join the white feminist herself. It is as if she determines that if I cannot have the black man like the white woman, I too will choose I'll choose the white woman like the black man does. I will be chosen white like the black man who is chosen by the white woman. In other words, if I can join the white woman, if I can be white like that white woman, I too can subdue and possess the black male. It is a Polanyic psychology. It seemed like some little. This is my thing with all of this. A lot of black people want to be white. Let's keep it real. We all know a lot of our women, black women, particularly African ADOS women, yearn to be white women. They want to have the same benefits as white women, but they're not because they don't got the white skin. And that's the honest truth. Their behavior depicts this. They complain about when the black man goes out there and swirls outside his race. Last time I checked, and I've been following a lot of podcasts and YouTube, and I never hear most dudes by all numbers of categories complain about the African woman, the ADOS woman, sleeping and procreating with non-black men, European men, white men, or etc. But only time you hear this conversation is only when it applies to the man. So it tells me as a man, who really cares about this thing about swirling in the so-called black community? And the only thing that black men will tell that when they see a black woman, a white man, or a non-black man, is that they're a bad witch. And also that's far less than the truth. Bad witch, and most of these dumb Negroes don't know, that's not the definition of bad witch. So I tell most men and women that's black to use their common sense, use the intellect. Stop using terms that you don't understand. Thank you. Let's continue. That's why we must put an end to the shameless and unnecessary tendencies of too many brothers to be increasingly lost to the white woman. It simply isn't any longer necessary now that black brothers know better and are aware of the beautiful and endless array of black women in today's society. The black man must declare the white woman off limits and begin actively to resist her. For because of her own male shortage, not so severe as the black shortage, of course, especially in the upper levels of the middle class, the white woman comes over to rip off some of the choice black males. See our revolutionaries without a revolution, the psychosociology of sex and race, and the black scholar of April 1978. Even when she is not a college person, figures show that white woman preference to marry the college level black male. Isn't it now they said for the last 40 years that a lot of black males have steady climbing after they get this degree? That they're marrying more out? And this is the reason why. Because white women prefers to marry college level black males. And most black males are in college. So by default, they are competing with you ladies, sisters, black women. They are competing, and I heard even stories from another black college person by Mr. Johnson saying that when he teach Africano studies, that he sees the white women in this class want to learn about black people, especially black males, because they want to interact, intimate, and procreate with black men. So as much as they say that this black man has no usefulness, I have to disagree. Because more than sex, you're seeking for black males. But we're not going into that. We can continue. By contrast, the white woman herself who intermarries is likely to be one rejected by fate or white male's choice or both. By outnumbering the black males, say 13-1, if 2% of the white female comes over, that's more than a fourth of the black males gone. Worse at the top. So it is no longer necessary, and the white woman must begin to be regarded as off balance. If you don't want to sleep in the harlot bed, don't go near the harlot door is a motto that will be our guide. So from this day forward, starting Juneteenth of 1984, to give grace time, we must begin to find ways to ostracize a negative, reinforce these black brothers and sisters should they begin to take up where the brother leave off. Unfortunately, for it is sad to say we have no organized communal life that is covered enough by African American who intermarry, as Jewish communal life is abhorrent to Jews who intermarry, no attachment sufficient to our culture to cause us pain. Though Kwanzaa, an African American holiday celebration, and Kupina love groups comprise a start. Indeed, the sister says that altruism is difficult precisely because brothers who take up the white woman willingly and voluntarily isolates themselves, but what they call altruism is only one form of shaming. And where there is a will, there is a way. Oh, you will hear loud crocodiles cries of concerns for the brother. And what about the poor little white woman who will not be accepted? Others who prefer the continued suffering of the way or of the many over the potential inconvenience of the relatively few who will be implied still yet to choose to marry white will jump harmoniously and speak suddenly of unity. But V.I. Lenin already knew that it is necessary first to divide, then unite. Otherwise, you can never remove the obstacles that stand in the way of unity. In the first place, if your quest for unity requires you to embrace all and sundry of the starkest source of disunity, it is not enough to assert the idea of acceptance of divergence forces. It is also necessary simultaneously to protect the black race and its unity from the force and factors that would divide us by design or indirection. Then there will be those seeking unlinked love for the white liberals, and that is one thing, but it is necessary to resist what they call malignant liberalism, especially that liberalism which would block our views or throw themselves between us and the enemy for whatever reason, in whatever way. It is necessary to confront and chastise arrogant liberalism in order to get to the enemy. Abating and encouraging by white liberals, we prefer to throw remote haymakers at South Africa when a jaw or two, let alone a barrier, unleashed in the land of the free, mighty, bring up of the place where we could really be in position to help South Africa and other distant places. And I want to make sure people could find out in the comment section if y'all there just listening. Let me know. Leave a comment. Yeah, but what about the white woman? A sister inadvertently asks, why does black male-female relationships focus so hard on white women? Not only do we reflect the focus exhibiting by black people in private places, the white woman happens to be one who is center stage as a white man decoy, the flux that is stealing our black male turkeys. Why not ask the loving fox to stay out of the turkey house instead of condemning us when we resist the practice of inventing foxes in for Sunday supper? Our brothers and sisters who will have a heart for black people, we protect everybody but ourselves. Nor Holt, the Swedish historian who is in the early 1960s, came over and wrote, "The people that walk in darkness refers to course to us, marvel at the incredible irony that history will record and recall how we have taken up the white man's profession, ideology, such as to turn the other cheek, Christianity, and outstrip him in the worship of it. While we turn the other cheek, he kicks us all the while. On the other two took up the sword and launched the holy hell of holy crusades to get people to turn the other cheek. Then, allies, he found us to take up the sword for him, who will have a heart one moment of sympathy for black people. How can we lose these blues for Snow White? The black woman suffer, no doubt about it. Will we care about the black woman? Question mark. She is compelled to see the black man's choices of a white woman as a personal rejection of her, which too often it has always ineffective. The black male psychosexual hangups on the white woman, aside from the simple shame and pathos of it all, accurately pains the black woman in part because so much of it is unconscious, or as the philosophers say, phylogenic rather than autogenic or ontogenic. In other words, the black woman as the individual may be happier or happily married, but in such much as racism rejects a black person on the basis of her or his physical, social, or comedy on the way she looks, the choice of a white woman by the black man cuts the black woman in the roots of her feminine needs to arouse the male. It is a sin and a shame, besides, when some white wretch will call up in the broad daylight to gloat over airwaves in the same week in both San Francisco and Washington, D.C., about the nature of the previous black male fetish for the white female. It's a unspeakable that a brother would have to galls, as some of them will to conclude, and even to utter with clear impunity, that he would rather have an ugly white woman than a pretty black woman, than prove it. All people were is our sense of shame. Did they take our love by taking our shame? Will the assertions of our strengths be enough without a simultaneously sensitivity to shame? I'm going to pause right here. In regards to the ugliness of women, everybody knows the non-white man, aka the black man, African man, the AOS man, where you want to label him. He has always shown that he will date, have sex with not only the prettiest, but the ugliest. Why is that? Because by default, we are, or the black man today is the trash can for a good majority of females of all race, of all kind. Now, what I mean by this, let's be clear. If you look at the average black man today, you don't see him with, on the average, the baddest chick like that, good looking chick. And there are some pretty sisters if they keep their weights down, but most likely they will choose any woman that will treat them with some respect. But this only goes for certain men of the race that will do that. But as the man climbs up higher in his finance and his status, he will, by default, will pick more prettier, because this is the notion for all men. The more they make, the more their recognition, status, and a group in the group that's useful really picks women that are of close to 8 or higher. So if you see a man that's picking someone that's very ugly and obese, he's pretty much broke. Let's continue. And you don't have to lay that out, because a lot of people won't think that's true or not, but I don't care. There are brothers who claim to be getting back at the white man or checking out to prove incorrect false fantasies presented in reference to the white woman. Others subdued imply that they are living out their anguish, working through it with their mothers through their conflict struggles with black women and their harmonized approach to the white woman, and that their mother had been the first in the line of black women who denies them pleasure and cause them pain. A corollary to this is that the white woman is freer with her favorite more complaints or more compliant. Those of psychological bent will even opine that they never had, or even that black men as a whole never had positive black males as models. In the name of sanity, what will we not do except support and love our own? What excuse will we give? And what rationalization will we phantom? There will be detractors who wish to disdain, to resist, and peril of the white woman by complaining in the name of blackness that we are too hard on the black male, placing once more the individual black male feeling above those of black women and the race. He has made a choice to take his limps in the arms of the white woman. We have not, besides the brother already suffers guilt, if not shame, especially when his white woman insists on accompanying him down front during Black Culture Week programming, especially if he once was an advocate of blacker than thou philosophies. Instead, or indeed, he will protest that they remain essential blacks, but it is simply that, like Jack Johnson, who loved two black women too hard and unequivocally, erroneously gave up on black women as a group and went over to white women in simply compassionate or compensation for his feeling of failure as a lover of black women. Then white women as a group reject him and gave him a hard way to go. A white woman arise to soothe him, to nurse the wounds exact by her race. You must understand that these emotional wounds were inflicted in the black male lover's mind by his biological inferiority, the basis upon which he was sad, or what was said to be rejecting, as he lives and grows from infancy through all the stage of psychosexual development. Hence, nobody but a white woman can fulfill, issues him, and repudiate. Nobody can accept him as effectively as a white woman because, unsure of himself and his racial grounds, he is accepting as an individual but rejected in his groupness. His ethnicity, by constructing to be accepted by the white woman, leaves him accepted in his ethnicity that as his what they call physicality and reject by black people. He is able to rationalize precise because he is accepted by the white woman. Meanwhile, the white woman appear as a good prisoner of war guard or the bad guard on a happy day in a program, fractionalizing psychosocial or psychosociological territory of rejection and acceptance, employed by those who practice institutional brainwashing or coercive persuasive. It almost to the old kiss kick principle black pimps had practiced for centuries. Before white sociologists learned it from Chinese communities, Chinese communists during the Korean War, in the party Harshon case, eminent psycho characteristics and psychosociology reveals that they still know less about brainwash than the ordinary street pimp. The street pimp who enacts on the black whore a psych or pathology form of which and what he instinctively sense the system does to him. So we are aware that The white woman who comes over to soothe the black man can be nice to him when it suits him or what suits her, or seems so in his mind by the process of psychological multiplication. How before the brother knows it is he is swollen up like a piece of forbidden fruit. Thus we will not seek the Rex total vengeance on the brother for vengeance. Is the Lord and the Malcolm warn any Negro is a potential black person. But we must halt this shameless trend towards the what they call this desertion of our already neglect black man black womanhood for Miss Anne. We must begin to systematically discourage intermarriage, evolving a taboo and aura to be passed on to the young black boys. We must find ways to shun and shame anybody who henceforth takes up with the white mates until such time in the unforeseeable future when it is no longer counterproducing, when there is no longer a need to resist white deception, whether conscious or not. Until such time as black people are no longer oppressed by white people, only then can the black person choose of a white mate propose to be unambiguous. And that ends chapter 6. The Snow White, or the blues for the Snow White, the white woman and black man attraction. The third thing I will say, in closing this up, this is the 21st century. And I always find that shaming words and tactics only applies within the same sex. But it's not shaming tactics where it deals with the collective or whole of black people. And I have a problem with that. I have a big problem. And this is the reason why. Because if you think about it, where has shaming tactics today gotten a lot of black people in America? Right now, from the end of the 20th century going forward to the 21st century. That I really want to know. I don't see it being effective now. Because anybody that's born now after 1994, those shame tactics will not work today. It's only useful for people that is no longer a what we call, quote unquote, a millennial going on to Gen Z and the new label I like to call Millennial Y. And the reason why, because we are now living more in a integrated, more assimilate process. The assimilation process here in America, rather black people that is now close to 50 million strong, are going to assimilate in this country more now, and it's going to rapidly increase. The boys are already on board with it, and they've been on board it for the last 50 years. Now, what's next is mostly the black woman. And the problem why you're only going to see this assimilation process going to be more effective in regards to the race from the black boy side, because, like always, sex is always something that males seek, or women seek for men for sex, one or the other. And if there's a pool of your male population, black boys, that's already being and sought after other groups of women, and this is a fact because and have easier dealing with interracial, is more easy for a male to engage than women, it because by default there's a lineage that has been passed on. Not only the genetic material, but some little tangible lineage or some little resource will pass out one way or the other. It might not be great, but it goes to the fact in this country where black males, depending on the economic situation, that still 50% or more are in the middle class, and some that's upper, very small percent in the super upper or elite class. They are still getting access to other race women, and these other race women are seeking them. And I always wonder in my mind as a black man, why they're seeking, because they see a potential in this black male, regardless what this thing might come out good or bad. They're still seeking black men. And I think the problem with a lot of black women today in the 20th century is they're not only frustrated, they're tired. Some of them will seek out outside the race, which they're probably doing already. But the problem is, out of the percentage now, is not effective because by default, other race men are not going to be marrying black women. So when we talk about this ticker-tack race, who's going to assimilate much faster, who's going to procreate more outside race, the women are going to lose that battle. I don't care what it is. Because when it comes to people, in regards to the man's side, marriage is the only thing you as women should be seeking. And having a family and staying with a family and try to work it out like everybody else throughout centuries. If you're not doing that as a black woman, you're going to lose more than the men. Regardless if you hear them getting divorced by other groups of women. At least the black man today is still seeking marriage, regardless of what you find out now or what you're hearing through social media or other podcasts. They're still seeking marriage. So don't be fooled. And this is advice I'm going to give to a lot of ladies that have children now, black boys. If you want to prevent or slow down this assimilated process with your sons venturing out with other groups of women, you must be very feminine and respectful to your sons and put your sons in a very good position. I heard too much in a lot of podcasts and other sectors of many spaces I'm listening to that a lot of women are bragging about their achievements of themselves and other women as individuals. I don't see them talking about how they can improve the quality and better life or education of their black sons that will become men to hopefully bring something tangible to the community. I hear very little talks about it. I hear a lot of complaints about the boys, but I hear little talks about them doing anything. And it makes me wonder that a lot of women, the sisters today, are very lazy. They're hoping that they don't have to do no work and that they birth out a child, mostly a black boy, and he's going to come out made ready to take them off their problems and struggle. And that's not how it really works. That's not how the world works. That's not how things really structure and works in society. You got to put in the work to get the best outcomes, ladies. So that's my message I'm going to leave to you. Thank you again for listening to this stream and podcast. If you like anything, go back, leave a comment to this. I'd like to hear from you. And like the stream and share this podcast / YouTube stream. Until next time, take care.